everybody. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Financially Raw. I'm a bit out of practice. It's been a while since I've been on. I think it's been 3 weeks. So I do apologize for everybody that I haven't been on for 3 weeks. I don't want to use all the excuses that everybody always uses about, I've been so busy. But the year has started with a bang and we are up and running, and it has been a bit of a hectic couple of weeks. So thank you everybody. Thank you for joining me. As per usual, we will be live on our social media. That is on Facebook, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. You are welcome to join us there and watch with us. And then also on Berg Studio. Welcome to all our listeners on Berg Studio. As per usual, you can chat to me live in studio. You can just press the shout out button on the website. If you type in there, I will get that message directly in studio. If you are not on our website, on Berg Studio, on the screen, I must always remember, over on that side, at the top you'll see is our web address, retirehappy.co.za. You can email us at info@retirehappy.co.za, or you can give us a call, 087 809 0603. And then if you want to chat to me live, you can WhatsApp me at 082-801-6693. So that is my direct WhatsApp number. So if you want to chat with me, you are welcome to send me a WhatsApp to that number directly, and I will respond as quickly as I can. So our topic for today is going to be money mistakes people make. So common money mistakes people make. So what do you need to look out for? And I think I've got about 11 of them that I want to run through. And as I wrote these money mistakes, it just dawned on me again how basic some of these things are. But because we don't think of them every day, we tend to walk into those pitfalls. Or step into those pitfalls. So it is important for us to keep these things in mind, even though you might go, but that's common sense. There's the saying that says common sense isn't as common as it used to be. So maybe we should re-look at what common sense actually is. So I'm going to run through that with you. And in the breaks, as per usual, on the social media, we are not allowed to play the music. So because of copyright. So on YouTube, on Facebook, LinkedIn, you will not be able to listen to music with us on that we listen to on Berg Studio. So if you want to listen to some cool music, you can tune into Berg Studio. If not, in those breaks, we will be showing you some of our previous episodes, things like how to spot a financial scam, why it's important to invest for retirement, and what not investing for retirement means, and then also how to make sure and keep track of your expenses. So to get started, let's start with our first music break. The music, we're going to have a random collection of songs that I think is awesome. And our first song for the day is going to be Disturbed and Sound of Silence. I thought this morning I haven't heard that song for a while. So let's have a listen to that. Sound of Silence from Disturbed. And those of you watching on our YouTube channel and our Facebook channel, we're going to watch a short video about spotting a financial scam. So let's start with that. Okay, the next point I want to make is be careful of financial scams. Guys, there's so many scams out there. Business opportunity scams, investment opportunity scams. Educate yourself. Understand the difference between a pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme, and a legitimate network marketing operation. Understand how investments work. So we've got a video on our YouTube channel iRetire that you can go see. Just search for how to spot a financial scam. It's a video I did a couple of years ago, and it explains exactly how financial scams work, the questions you can ask to determine if something is a financial scam. So go and watch that video and make sure that you don't get involved with these. All the hard work that you've done, all the things that you've built can be wiped out in an instant if you get involved in a financial scam that's going to cost you a lot of money. And it's important, or we tend to try and blame somebody else. Well, it was my best friend's cousin that told me that this thing is going to work. It's his fault. Guys, it's not his fault. It is your own fault for allowing yourself to be fooled into it and not educating yourself. Go educate yourself. We've got a question from Fricky. He says, if I start working now and don't have any debt, but want to get a loan or even a cell phone, the companies that I want to get a loan or cell phone account say that I need to open at least a clothing account to build credit. But why can't I build credit with a cell phone account? Yeah, Fricky, it's one of those. It's like what we've explained to the interns as well. You can't get a job if you don't have experience, and you can't get experience if you don't have a job. So you can't get credit if you don't have a credit account, and you can't build a credit record without any credit. So why they say open a clothing account is because the qualification to get a clothing account is so much lower. They just give it to anybody. So it's the easiest account to open before you can open a cell phone account. So if that is the case, you can either look at getting a credit card through the bank. Like I said earlier, don't go into the negative, but it still gives you that credit record. Or go and open a clothing account, buy something that is worth 200 Rand, pay it off at the end of the month, and then just keep that account open, which will start giving you a credit record. It's not about not having credit. It's about what you do with the credit once you have it, because that is the problem. They open a credit card or clothing account with Edgar's, and Edgar's gives them credit of 5,000 Rand. So what they do is, well, I need a clothing account, I need a credit to build my credit record. So they go and they immediately buy 5,000 Rands worth of clothing. And now suddenly they sit with that expense that they have to pay. Now it becomes an interest-bearing credit account, etc., etc. So it's about strategizing. You can use, and there's certain rules that we're going to play within. It's like rugby. When you play rugby, there's certain rules. You can kick against the rules. You can moan that the rules aren't working. You can say it's not fair. Doesn't matter. That is the rules. So play within the rules, but then use those rules to your own benefit. And the best way to do that is by understanding how the rules work. So it's all about educating yourself again. So if they say, well, you need a clothing account to open to get a mobile phone, get a clothing account. But understand why you are getting it. You're not getting it to buy that new pair of red shoes. You are buying it for the purpose of creating a credit record. So use it, get your credit record, and then get rid of it. Okay, I hope that answers your question. And welcome back, guys. That was Sounds of Silence. If you are listening on Berg Studio, and if you are watching on our social media channels, that was a short video about spotting a financial scam. So guys, one of the mistakes people make is about scams. So we will chat about that as we go along. So let's get going. Again, if you need to contact me, there's our contact details at the top. It's on that side at the top. And you are welcome to send me an email, to call us at the office, or to send me a WhatsApp, and I will respond to that WhatsApp. So let's get going on the money mistakes people make. So the first one is one of the biggest ones. It's not having a budget. One of the biggest mistakes people make is not having a budget in place. Without a budget, it is difficult to track your spending, and you may end up spending more than you can afford. Guys, this is the cornerstone of your financial plan, is having a proper budget. Now, what most people think a budget is like and what a budget should be is completely different. We've done some surveys and the statistics show that a very large, almost half of South Africans have no budget. That means that the money comes into their account, the debit orders go off, they pay their expenses, and they hope they survive on the balance. About over 40% of people have a limited budget, a basic budget. That is where people sit. They've got a little Excel sheet, they've got a little booklet, and they write down their main expenses, their most common expenses, like they have the car on there and the house or the rent, the water and lights, all of those kind of things. But they do not plan for the spending, they do not plan for unforeseen expenses, and they do not plan for their capex. So capex is your capital expenditure. Those are the things that happen once or twice a year, but it's not part of your monthly expenses. And the problem is that if we sit with our budget being so tight, suddenly something happens that we haven't planned for. The car breaks down, it needs a service, somebody gets ill, any of those kind of things, then it can't fit into our budget. So what happens? We go into our debt, we go into credit cards, we go into overdrafts, we go into revolving credit, and that's how we get ourselves into debt. One of the big things that I always say is people need to understand budgeting is 80% looking backwards and only 20% looking forward. So you have to make sure that your budget, or that you look back first before you start planning in the future. Because you cannot plan where your money is going next if you don't know where it's gone. So what happens typically is a person starts the month and they have their little budget written out on a piece of paper. They look at it and they say, well, I should be okay because I've got money coming in, I've got certain expenses to pay, and I should be okay for the month. Then at the 20th of the month, suddenly the money's gone and they go, ooh, this is a tough month, and they just struggle to get through. And then when they get to the end of the month, they say, I can't believe I got through this month. But at least I got through. It was a tough month, but next month this is going to happen. And then they write down everything again. The problem is, why did it not work out the previous month? Because if you don't address the reasons why you didn't come out with your funds, then how is that going to change next month? It's not going to suddenly change. It's not going to suddenly work out the next month. Those things that caused you to run out of money in the previous month will still be there. You need to identify it. That's why you look back first and then you look forward. And those are the kind of things we teach in our coaching program with iRetire, where we show people exactly how and where their money is being spent, where the problem areas are, and how to address those. I promise you, as you are sitting listening to this or watching this now, you are overspending by at least 10%. That means if your budget is 30,000 Rand a month, there is at least, and guys, most of the time it's more than that, but there is at least 3,000 Rand a month that you cannot account for, that you don't know where the money's gone. Now imagine if you could find that holes in your bucket or there's holes in your budget, plug them and actually have that 3,000 Rand to move you forward. And that ties into our next money mistake. The second one, overspending. Overspending on things you don't need or can't afford can quickly lead to financial trouble. It is important to live within your means and avoid buying things just to keep up with others. So there's a couple of things around that overspending. A lot of people say, but I just do not have the discipline. If I walk into that store and there's some red shoes, some beautiful red shoes, I don't have the discipline not to spend the money on those shoes. So before I get it, I'm back into my credit card and I just can't get out of it. And the thing is, most of the time it's not a discipline issue. Most of the time it's an awareness issue. What do I mean with that? The fact that you are never aware of exactly where you are against your goal. Firstly, you don't have a goal because you don't have a proper budget, but you also don't track of where you are against your goal throughout the month. So, because you're spending money out of your savings account, you've got a check account, you've got a credit card, you've got a second credit card, and you spend money out of all of these accounts, and you have no idea where you're actually standing for the month. Then it becomes a discipline issue, because you don't actually know if you have the money to buy the shoes or not. If you knew exactly, this is my limit, this is what I can spend for the month, this is where I am, I'm already 80% on that limit and it's only the 10th of the month, you will probably start making different decisions. You will probably then look at those red shoes and say, they're beautiful, but maybe next month we'll have it done. Because if I do that now, I'm going to reach my limit before the end of the month and then I'm going to be in trouble. So that awareness is what creates the discipline. It's not just you wake up one morning and suddenly you are disciplined and you start making all the right decisions and you start practicing delayed gratification. It doesn't happen. It's never going to happen. You're not going to have 1 month be in trouble and the next month you're going to start making different decisions. You need to become aware. Awareness is 80% of the battle won. Once you know what is going on, you will automatically start making better decisions. This is one of the obstacles, or one of the factors that people are fear factors that people are afraid of when we start talking to them about the financial coaching. They think that the coach will come in and tell them what they are allowed to do with their money and what they are not allowed to do with their money. Almost like a boss that's going to tell them what they can and cannot do. And that is not at all what the coach does. All the coach does is he helps you to put systems in place to make you more aware of where your money is going. Once that is put in place, your awareness will make you make better decisions automatically. We go and we show people where their money is going. We show them what to do. We teach them how to put these systems in place. And then suddenly those people start making different decisions. They contact us and say, you know what, I've decided I'm going to stop doing this, or I'm going to change this habit of mine to that. We don't tell them, they tell us, because through the awareness they can see the benefit of changing their behavior, of changing the way they spend money or on what they spend money. So overspending is very often, it is an awareness issue. It is you not knowing exactly where your money is going, and therefore you have problems in keeping within your budget. Also remember, most people's financial problems is not an income problem. Most people's financial problems is a financial management and expense problem, not an income problem. But we try and fix the financial management and expense problem with income. We think that if we add more money every month, if I earn a higher salary, if I start a second business, any of these things, then suddenly our financial situation will be better. Our problems will be solved. Only to realize that we're working longer hours, we're working harder, we're earning more, but we're spending more. And we're back to square one. We've not gotten ourselves out of prison. We have basically just made our prison a little bit bigger and maybe a little bit more comfortable. So it starts with having a budget, having a cash flow management plan, because a budget on its own also doesn't solve the problem. So having a proper budget, having a cash flow management plan, and being aware of where you are. And that is where our variable cost segregation system fits in. We call it our bucket system. And that bucket system is a very simple way of managing and being aware of where your money is going. And that is what we teach our students. Okay, so before we go to step number 3, or the mistake number 3, which is ignoring debt, let's take another music break. For those of you on Berg Studio, we will take a music break. And then for those of you watching on our social media, I'm going to show you a video that talks a little bit about the mistakes of not investing for retirement. So enjoy the video, and then those of you all right, so last week we ended speaking about not living paycheck to paycheck, and how important it is to first have control over your cash flow, really have a system in place like we teach, and then to make sure that you have positive cash flow at the end of the month, and start planning ahead. What is next on our list?
Well, next would be is not investing in retirement.
Okay.
I think, and a lot of people think just taking 15 or 20% of their salary, putting it into some RA or endowment, and they fine. I'm not saying, and I think I said this last week, I'm not saying that an RA and an endowment is wrong. I'm not saying that. But don't just rely on that, because let's just be practical here. You take 15 or 20% of your salary, you put it away. At 65, you expect to get your whole salary, and you only save 20% of it. I mean,
when does it become 20% become 100%?
Exactly. So I'm going to be straight there, and please don't take offense. Guys, get a reality check on that. That's not going to happen. So you need to find different ways. And again, I'm constantly throughout this whole program going to refer to our coaching model. And that's what we help people with, is create these multiple streams of income generating assets, and take bite sizes of your active income away every single month or every single year, and start creating your retirement through that.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I want to add to what you're saying now. The first one is what I've been saying for quite a while already, is that we've been taught that saving is the answer. Yeah. Saving is the solution to retire. As long as you save enough, 10%, 15%, 20% of your salary, you will retire comfortably. And how I explain it to people is, if you want to build a brick wall, saving is not the wall. Yeah. So if retirement was the wall, saving is not all the bricks. So you need to use some of the other bricks that you have at your disposal. So what do people do? They use savings bricks to build their wall. They get to retirement and their wall is only half built, because savings bricks isn't alone. So you have to have different bricks that you use to build your retirement wall. Otherwise, you're not going to finish it.
Exactly.
And that's what we see every single day. So there's three types of assets that we teach. So the first one is capital assets, and that's what we've been taught since we were very small. Save, have enough capital in the bank or money in the bank, live off the interest. That's the simplified version of it. But people don't look at having business assets that generate income through leverage, having fixed assets. So you have to have three types of assets: capital assets, business assets, and fixed assets. And that's where it comes in, where you're saying create multiple sources of income as well. You can't just have one source of income. Another thing around that is, and this is something you would see when you start working with people from a financial planning perspective, and I've seen it in the 23, 22 years that I've been, is that people want to be passive investors. You sit with them and they say, well, I've got 1,000 Rand a month that I want to put away, and then just do something with it. Just put it away. So they sign a little form. The insurance company or the financial institution comes every month, takes the money out of their bank account, and they just hope to hell that they do something with the money.
Yes.
And then when they get to 65 and it's not enough, then it's everybody else's fault. It's the insurance company who stole their money. It is the financial advisor that didn't do his job. It's everybody except them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you cannot be financially successful if you don't. Welcome back, everyone. And it was This Ain't a Scene, It's an Arm Race from Fall Out Boy. Almost forgot what song I played. And then those of you watching on our social media, it was about not investing for retirement, a discussion I had with Warren, our top coach, and we discussed why it's so important to invest for retirement. We are about halfway through that video, so when we go for our next music break, we will show the rest of that video. If you found it interesting, make some notes. And again, as per usual, if you want to chat to me, ask me any questions. If you're listening on Berg Studio, you are welcome to press the shout out button and just give me a shout out. Also, if you want to WhatsApp me in studio, on my WhatsApp 082-801-6693, or send an email to info@retirehappy.co.za, or phone the office at 087-809-0603. So if you are really tired of struggling financially, if you want to have a plan to move forward and actually create financial retirement for yourself, because a great retirement doesn't happen by chance, it happens by design. You need to design your life. You need to make sure that you have a goal that you work towards, and that we can help you with one of our coaches. So tackle that, contact our coaches, and we will help you achieve financial retirement in 10 years. Okay, so let's go to number 3, ignoring debt. So ignoring debt or failing to pay it off can quickly spiral out of control. It's important to have a plan to pay off debt and avoid taking on too much debt in the first place. Now, the first thing we need to understand about debt is we need to understand the differences or the different debts, and which is the debt that you want to get rid of as quickly as possible. And that is secured debt and unsecured debt. So secured debt is any debt that is underlined by an asset, like your mortgage or your bond on your house is underlined by the house. So the bank has that as security, which means the interest rates on that loan is much lower. Your credit card or a personal loan has no underlying asset as security, which means the risk for the bank is much higher. That means that your interest rates are much higher, that your payments are going to be much higher. So it is important to understand that the debt that you want to get rid of first is your unsecured debt or your consumer debt. Your credit cards, your clothing accounts, your retail accounts, your overdrafts, your personal loans, all of those, revolving credit, all of those kind of debts you want to get rid of as quickly as possible. Now, when they talk about ignoring debt, a lot of times we get into trouble and we just battle to service all our debt. And what we tend to do is we tend to pay the guys who makes the most noise. Those guys that phone us 3 times a day, every week they're on the phone, they threaten, they do all of these things. Those are the guys we pay. And the guys that are quiet, we don't pay. And those are the ones that get us into trouble. Because one morning we wake up and we have our name on the credit ITC, on the credit listing. We might have a judgment against our name, and then we're in trouble. And it's those quiet guys where this happens. So don't ignore any of your debt. Talk to your creditors. Make sure that they understand your situation and pay them something. It is better to pay, if you have 1,000 Rand to pay, it's better to pay 5 creditors 200 Rand instead of paying one creditor 700, the other 300, and the rest you don't pay at all. So rather pay a little bit on everything. Then have a plan to pay off your debt. So once you have taken control of your spending, once you have controlled your overspending, then take the cash flow that you have created and start a plan to pay off your debt as quickly as possible so that you can get out of debt. Again, you won't just get out of debt by accident. You must have a plan and work on that plan to get you out of debt. Why do people get into debt? We very seldom get into debt as a once-off event. This massive event happens and now we're in deep debt. Debt creeps up on us a little bit at a time. The car breaks down, that's 3,000 Rand. The roof falls in because of the rain, that's another 3,000 or 4,000 Rand. Our child gets injured at school, that's another 6,000-7,000 Rand. And so slowly but surely we get deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. And when we realize, because at that moment we find a solution for the problem, we say, well, I'm going to take out a personal loan. I'll consolidate all the other loans in this personal loan. So it's only going to cost me 600 Rand a month more if I take everything. So I'll be able to manage that. And then 3 months later, the credit card has popped up again. So that's another 1,000 Rand that we're paying on the credit card. And so it just snowballs and becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And then once we realize we're in this debt situation, we then, it's too late to really do something unless we have a consistent, concerted effort and a plan to follow to get rid of that debt. So you have to take the decision to say, I am going to address this. I am going to get myself out of debt. It won't just happen. And guys, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. You have to make sacrifices. You're going to have to give up on certain things. You can't expect to live the same life with no sacrifices. You don't have to do anything else, but you're going to get out of debt. That's not how life works. You did these things and that got you into debt. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect it to get you out of debt. So you have to change your habits. You'll have to change what you do. You have to change what you spend money on. And some of it is not going to be fun. Some of them, it's going to be hard. But it's going to be worth it. Because imagine what your life will be like if all the money that you're paying into debt at the moment, that money is available for you to build assets or to live a more comfortable life. It's going to change the way your life is. Because you want to take the money that is now paying debt and paying interest and convert it into money that's earning interest. Also, what's very important is that you first get rid of your unsecured debt before you start saving, before you start building an emergency fund. Because you start saving and you might get 6 or 7% return on your investments, but you're paying 18, 19, 20% on your debt. First get rid of the debt, then you start building assets, building a capital asset. Okay, number 4, not having an emergency fund. An emergency fund can help you avoid going into debt when unexpected expenses arise. It is important to have an emergency fund with at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. So guys, we build what we call the reserve account, and that reserve account is made up of 2 things. It is made up of your CapEx fund and your emergency fund. So the CapEx fund, firstly, is all your capital expenditure that you have to plan for the year in the future, for the year coming. So those are those expenses that I spoke about under budget that is not always part of your normal monthly budget. And secondly, 3 months expenses. So not 3 months worth of income, but 3 months worth of expenses. So that if something happens, you have that money available. You don't have to go into a credit card. You don't have to go to the bank and take out another personal loan. Once you get there, you will then start having some financial security. Now guys, this is not a straight line. You don't start from being with no budget, not getting out every month, getting deeper and deeper into debt, and then in a straight line everything just improves. You create a budget, you have positive cash flow, you pay off your debt, you build your emergency fund, and nothing goes wrong. That's not how life works. This is going to be a winding road. You're going to start paying off your debt. Something's going to go wrong. You're going to go a bit deeper into debt again. Then you're going to start paying it off again. And then you're going to take a step back, and so on and so forth, until you get to the point where your debt is finally paid off. Then you're going to start building your emergency fund. But that's also not going to be a straight line. You're going to build your emergency fund, something's going to go wrong, you're going to have to put a little bit on the credit card again. Then you're going to slowly build it back up again. It's not a straight line. That's not how life works. We expect life to work that way. We have this expectation that everything must just work out because we now have a plan. Things will go wrong. But that's where your determination comes through. Your commitment to your goal comes through. And that is why you need a coach. You need an accountability partner to hold you accountable, keep you on track for when things go wrong. Then number 5, not having adequate insurance. And I know a lot of people look at insurance and they say, I don't want life cover, don't want car insurance because I'm just paying these guys and they're going to find a way not to pay me in any case. So a grudge purchase. But failing to have adequate insurance coverage can leave you vulnerable to financial losses. It is important to have insurance coverage for health, life, and property. So you need to have medical aid cover, medical insurance. You have to have life cover, which includes life cover, disability cover, severe illness cover. You need to have your property covered, your car, your house. But guys, what's important with this is you always create your risk management plan, your insurance around what you need, not what you've got. There's too much running around selling people products that improves on the product they have instead of addressing what the client needs. So when you start looking at having adequate insurance cover, remember it is what we call what if money. It's money you pay a third party for in case something happens to you. It's not going to build an asset, it's not going to create anything unless one of those eventualities happen. Doesn't matter what the marketing guys at these insurance companies want to tell you. The money that you pay them that's going to be paid back as bonuses is your own money that they're just giving back to you. And if you want to know more about that, send me an email. I will explain it in more detail. So you want to spend as little money as possible on risk by making sure that the risk that you are paying for is exactly what you need, no more, no less. Then number 6, before we go on to another music break. So number 6 is only having one source of income. Trying to create financial independence by only earning one income makes it an impossible, almost impossible task, unless you are one of the top 1% of earners in the world. Guys, most people that work for an income, you will not earn enough only from your income to have a comfortable life, to pay for all your risk, to raise kids, pay off your house, and build financial security. You have to create multiple sources of income. We call it MSI. And we do that by creating business assets. Now, currently, most of you have one business asset. What is that business asset? That is you. You are the business asset that creates income. But you have a product, you have one product that you sell in your business, and that is you. Your time, your expertise gets sold, and you get paid for that at the end of the month. But that's not enough. You have to have multiple sources of income. You can't be the only source of income. So you want to create a business asset. Now, what is a business asset? It is an asset or a business that generates income as a result of leverage. So when you look at a business that you want to start to earn extra income, you need to find a business that will earn income through leverage. And that is one of the things we teach our students as well. So let's take another music break. For those of you watching on social media, we're going to continue with the video on not investing for retirement, so enjoy that. And then when we come back, we will do 7, 8, 9, and 10. Or if you want to be a passive investor, you have to become an active investor.
Exactly.
And becoming an active investor starts with a financial education. That doesn't mean you have to become a financial advisor, but it means you need to understand how these things work so that you can start making informed decisions and use these products on your terms, not the insurance company's terms, not the financial advisor's terms. And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to learn, then you can't complain when you feel that they've done you in over the long term.
And on that is also ask questions. If a person says they're going to put your money somewhere and you're going to earn X, ask them to show you how that's going to happen. When is that going to happen? How long will it take before you actually earn X? What happens if you pull your money out after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years? What are the parameters around the investment? Because it's your money. It's not the guy that's investing your money. It's not his money. It's your money. So for him, he's doing the best he thinks. Hopefully, hopefully he's doing the best for you. But if it doesn't suit your needs, then say no. You know, there's no harm in saying no. And say no.
Questions.
Is there something else? Because if there is something else, find out about it. You know, don't let a person just come to you with one thing. Come to you with 2 or 3 different things. Ask about the risk. Ask about the term. You know, ask these questions, because then at the end of the day you can say, okay, I've done my due diligence. I'm happy with it. Let's move forward for that amount of time, but also keep an eye on it. Make and
be able to make informed decisions. Another one I've got on here that ties in nicely to what we're talking about is overestimating the value of capital. That's one of the big money mistakes people make as well. And it comes into the person sitting with you and showing you, well, if you put away 1,000 Rand a month and you do it for 30 years or 20 years, it's going to give you 3 million Rand by the time you retire. And then you're going to get this bonus and this payback of your fees and everything they sell you. But we overestimate the value of that capital. So we say, oh, 3 million, sheesh. With 3 million Rand, I put it in the bank, 12 or 10% interest, that's 300,000 Rand per year, that's 25,000 Rand a month. No, I'll be fine with 25,000 Rand a month. But that's not how capital works. People completely overestimate the value of capital. And we've got a video that I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we've got a video on our YouTube channel called The Rule of Tens and the Rule of 300, where you can estimate what the actual value of capital is.
It's actually a shocker.
It
really is.
When you watch that, so simply the rule of 300 is when you have an amount of capital, if you want to know how much income it can sustainably generate, you take that capital and you divide it by 300. So you take 3 million Rand divided by 300, and that won't give you more than, what's that? The 300, that's 10,000 Rand a month.
Yeah.
That is it, with 3 million capital. And we're thinking that it should be able to give us 25 or 30,000 Rand per month. So it's very important to understand the value of capital, because this is what happens, and we call it the death spiral. So people have capital, they take more capital, more income than that capital can sustainably generate, which means the capital Welcome back, everyone, and that was Brian Adams. The only thing that looks good on you is me. Oh, no, I'm Yes, I've got one of those mornings. The only thing that looks good on me is you. Well, other way around will also work. But yeah, that's Brian Adams. For those of you watching on our social media, we were busy watching the video that I did, an interview I did with one of our top coaches, Warren Turner, about why it's important and why it's a mistake not investing for retirement. So let's continue. We have spoken about only having one source of income. We've still got 4 points that we want to run through for today. So number 7, not investing. So not investing your money can be a missed opportunity for growth. By investing, you can potentially earn higher returns than just saving in a bank account. So when we start looking at your emergency fund, or as we call it, your reserve account, that is typically in a normal savings account. So you'll get some interest on it, but the main purpose of that account is not to give you the maximum amount of interest or the highest amount of growth. It is to have accessible cash. But then when you have reached your reserve account, or your maximum reserve level, as we call it, you need to start investing your money. By not investing and only wanting to keep it in a savings account, you will not reach the levels that you want to reach. Where we are different and what we teach is different is what you invest in. Because what we've typically been taught is that there's one type of investment that you need to invest in, and that is called a capital asset. You invest your money into a capital asset, for example, into a retirement annuity or 401k, as they call it in the US. You invest in that for retirement, and that gives you capital to retire with. You invest in a unit trust, and that will give you capital if you retire. You invest in your savings account, etc., etc., etc. So it's all building capital assets. And while it is not wrong to have capital assets, it's not the complete picture. You need to invest in 3 types of assets. The first one is business assets, because you want to create multiple sources of income. The second one is capital assets, that is your fixed or your reserve account. And the third one is fixed assets. That is an income generating asset, an asset that generates an income as a result of the asset, not what you do in the asset. So that is the key, is to create income generating assets and invest your capital in there so that you can create more sources of income. Because if you want to retire, you will need compound income, not compound interest. Compound interest is only on capital. Compound income is through income generating assets. So we can show you how to build compound income. Number 8, failing to plan for retirement. Many people don't plan for retirement early enough, which can leave them unprepared when they reach retirement age. It's important to start saving for retirement as early as possible. Now that is your traditional wisdom. Just start saving as early as possible. But it's much more than that. Planning for your retirement is much more than that. The first one you need to look at is you need to plan your retirement date. You need to plan your life, design your life. What is it going to look like when you retire? Where are you going to stay? What are you going to do with your time? What car are you going to drive? Where are you going to go on holiday? What will your retirement look like? And then once you have that plan in your place, you start looking at how much income you need to fund that lifestyle. And once you have that, you start planning to replace the income. You don't plan to build the capital. That is crucial. What we've been taught about saving up these massive amounts of capital is not the right way to plan for our retirement. It is how much of my income that I need for my plan have I replaced up to this point. And once you start focusing on replacement of income instead of building capital, you will then start working towards that goal and reach it much quicker than at age 65. Number 9, not understanding taxes. Failing to understand taxes can result in missed deductions and overpayment. It is important to educate yourself on tax laws and work with a professional if needed. So there's 2 things that you need to do when you look at your taxes. The first one is stop being afraid of taxes. Stop being afraid of putting in anything that could give you a refund. The SARS, the taxman, the IRS, if we talk about the US, they are not your enemy. So you don't have to be all afraid of them. You are allowed to minimize your tax liability. So you're not allowed to avoid tax by lying, cooking the books, all of those kind of things. But you are allowed to reduce your tax liability legally. And if you understand the rules, you can play within those rules and win. You don't have to pay all your taxes the way that it's structured. If you plan it correctly, if you have a part-time business that generates an income where you can then claim back any of those expenses, you can save thousands in taxes a year. So get yourself a professional, start learning about tax, and even if you're only an employee, there are ways for you to reduce and limit your tax liability. So understand your taxes and understand the difference between how the middle class pay tax and how the wealthy pay tax. I'll quickly touch on it. I don't have the time to get into that in too much detail. But if you want to have more information on that, you can email at info@retirehappy.co.za or go WhatsApp me on 082-801-6693. So the difference is when the middle class pay tax, what happens is they earn income. Once they've earned their income, they get taxed on that and they can spend the balance. How the wealthy works is they earn their income, they spend what they can, and then they get taxed on the balance. You see the difference, and that makes all the difference in the world. So what you want to do is you want to move yourself from paying tax like a middle class citizen to paying taxes like the wealthy. Number 10, the last one, falling for scams. Falling for scams or fraudulent schemes can be a costly mistake. It's important to stay informed about common scams and be cautious when sharing personal or financial information. Guys, this could cost you all your momentum. It can cost you all your savings. Why do people fall for scams? Because of all the other mistakes that I've discussed, they get into a situation where they start getting desperate. They're now close to retirement. They need to start, they're going to stop working, they're going to stop income, they have nothing. And then they take the little bit which they know is not going to be enough, and they get seduced by these massive returns, this opportunity to make a quick buck, to get them out of their financial situation, to give them the light at the end of the tunnel. Be careful of those kind of things. Watch the video on our YouTube channel about spotting a financial scam and make sure that you don't fall for these scams. There's a lot of different types of scams out there. Ponzi schemes, pyramid Ponzi, hybrids, all of these kind of things. Guys, be very careful. Ask the right questions. In that video that I have on spotting a financial scam, I give you questions that you can ask the person, and through those questions you will very quickly pick up whether it is a financial scam or not. Guys, there's a lot of other mistakes that people make, but if you start looking at these 10 mistakes and really start digging into them and looking and becoming aware not to make those mistakes, if you get a coach that will help you plan through this, keep you accountable, you can retire within 10 years. You can financially retire in 10 years to the point where you can choose to work and do what you want to do, not work because you have to. And that is the goal that we want to get people to. Thank you for joining me this morning. I really enjoyed being with you. I'm going to finish the video on why it is a mistake not to invest for your retirement, which I've had with Warren. And then I will see all of you again next week, same time, same place. For those of you on Berg Studio, we're going to play out with our final song, and I will tell you after I've said goodbye to our social media listeners. Cheers, everyone. Have a great weekend, and then I will see you again next week. Uses over that year. Then the next year, they have to take even more income to make sure that they have enough with inflation, but there's less capital to generate that. So they have to take more of the capital to generate the income, which means the next year there's less capital available. And then they get into that death spiral.
And because there's less capital, the interest is less.
Exactly.
So it just falls.
It just gets less and less and less. And the problem is that it starts happening so slowly that people don't realize it initially, because it's a small amount and a small amount over a year. But after about 5 years, you're in the death spiral, and once they realize it, it's too late to get out of the death spiral. They're in that spiral, and that's it. Unless they go out and they sell their house and go live in a little plain little place. They start working again to generate alternative streams of income. Unless they do that, their retirement is ruined. And then their retirement is ruined in any case.
Exactly. And everything started with just putting, well, I've got an RA or an endowment. Sorry, I'm just going back to that always. And I think it's enough. And then when they realize, like you say, when they realize it's not enough, then that's too late.
So, the best time to start, it was 10 years ago. Second best time to start and do something different is now.
Right now.
I always say you can't change or solve a problem with the same things that created the problem in the first place. And that's sort of what's happening in the industry a lot of times, is they want to solve the problem exactly the same way with the same things that created the problem. And you can't just do more of something that created a problem and think that's now suddenly going to solve the problem. You have to do something different. And that is what we teach through our system and through the coaching, is an alternative method. And we're not saying, like you said rightfully, we're not saying don't save. We're not saying don't put money away. Don't save for retirement. What we are saying is that is not the complete picture. We're saying you need to do other things as well if you really want to get to a comfortable retirement.
But then on that as well, people then also make silly decisions, and they go after these other investments that are fly-by-nights, and the guys pack their bags and they fly with all the billions of rands that they've made, and they go and live in Greece or wherever and no one can find them. So please be aware of that. Another thing, it's also easy to turn around and say, oh, well, that guy stole all my money. No, he didn't steal your money. You gave it to him. So be careful on who you're going to go and invest with. I'm not going to mention any names, but yes, be careful.
You're almost dead. So that's so true. It is, again, you need to take responsibility as well. You made that decision. Doesn't matter who told you. You didn't do your homework. You didn't get your education up to understand. And again, we've got a video on our channel talking about how to spot a financial scam. Go watch that video. Even if you get approached by an investment opportunity, go watch that video and ask those questions. I think in that video, I give you like 6 questions that you can ask to make sure that it's not a financial scam. So go watch that. I mean, the content is there. You don't have to be uninformed.
Yeah, no.
There's no reason to be uninformed.
I mean, you've always got that little saying, is if it all goes south, who do I sue to get my money back? Now, if there's no one you can sue to get your money back, well then, hey, don't put your money there. Because you've got not a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
So be careful.
Yeah.
Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lourens from Retire Rich and Happy.